All right, we are back. Welcome to The Devil in Detail. I'm Eli.
I'm Ben. This is episode 34. Behold the Devil, issue 2.
All right, we're back.
Yeah,
Another great issue.
in the 5-minute break that we took between recording last week's issue,
Right.
I tried out the very quick and simple word balloon Photoshop hack that you showed me. It's going to change my life. I can't believe it. I can't believe how
Awesome.
simple that was.
Yep.
Just to warp a stroked rectangle into a traditional balloon shape.
Mm-hmm.
Who would
Easy
have
to
thunk?
do.
I can't believe I never stumbled upon that before.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
And Happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy
Let's
New
get
Year.
into the intro.
Yes, the theme song. Here we go. Let's get in.
Fast and then he's slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. Hunter Rose with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, we are back. The Devil in Detail. It's a new year and it's a new book. Issue 2, Behold the Devil by Matt Wagner. So where we left off last week, Hunter's got this strange feeling that he's being followed. He's being watched while he is himself watching over these two gangland leaders, trying to fill in the space that he left, slaughtering these 25, 23 people in the massacre last time.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be an observe and calculate kind of solo rooftop mission, and he's distracted by his own paranoia
Right.
when these dudes see him. Who could that be on the roof? Well, we already know. They pull out the guns, start blasting away. Oh well, Grendel's gonna have a great time with this anyhow.
Unfocused, unforgivable. So he's just like, all right, it's either, nut up or shut up. So he blasts through. These stormtroopers, these guys have the accuracy of a stormtrooper down here. There's 4 dudes blasting away at one guy, and not one bullet touches him.
In the words of Kilgore Trout, and so it goes. Quoth the bard Hunter Rose.
So he just bangs down and he comes in there and he just splatters these dudes with seemingly one fell swoop of that fork. He forks them from end to dental, as Manus says. And
this is a great semi-double page spread.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Just kills them. And then, it's an unfortunate turn. He didn't want to do this yet. He didn't want to cut these guys down yet. He just wanted to follow and see what their next move is, or their next plan is. But, he wasn't going to let he wasn't going to give up his spot. So he's just like, okay, let's dive in.
And on top of that, his sinking paranoia remains, but ain't nobody got time for that. Let's leave that bloody G. Liz Sparks and the task force.
And so this is another cool storytelling technique here. We see like a police report. We see this photo. I guess, what do you think? Do you think this is a crime scene photo, or you think this is like a setting up a scene?
I think this is supposed to be like a mimeographed or Xeroxed thing. I think that's what that weird shadow is.
Well, yeah, that's what the bottom is, but I'm saying the top. You think it's this is like a case file we're looking into with this photo?
Oh no, I think that's a omniscient Wagner story because it's a high angle shot.
That makes sense. Yeah,
it's too well composed for it to be a crime scene photo.
Yeah, you're right.
It's very funny how the kind of quality of the G, he writes it with this bloody rag from someone's shirt, but the G is very, it's in the same handwriting that we've seen it, big and beefy.
Right.
And it's even similar to the way that Mahfoud would do it, nice and really, really beefy with the 3 strokes and all that.
Yeah. And they call it graffiti too. The graffiti in the victim's own blood.
Yeah.
So they don't call it a calling card or a signature. So it's straight up called graffiti. And I think there's a lot of these callbacks to some of the red, white, and black stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would wait to say that that's a callback to the Mahfoud story.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't he do it some other time?
I mean, he draws
Independent of
the G.
Mahfoud?
Yeah, for sure. But
I also just like that oh, look at this. The date. We didn't even notice the date. September 26th, 1982.
yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah.
How did that get by?
Oh no, I mean, last
I didn't
issue
even
they said
notice
something
that.
else too. That was a little bit later. I thought it said like 86 or something like that, but then that was like a callback to.
In the one where Teddy Boy is like the check, he donates a check to the orphans hospital or something, and it's like dated 1986.
Oh yeah, that was the Shadow.
Right?
That was from the Shadow. Yeah. Okay, so that kind of
No,
shows. Oh
no,
no. The check was a black, white, and red one.
it's a black, white, and red. So I would be curious if that date was Andy Kuhn, just dropping in a date. But here, this is
He's
Matt's
really-
hand. Yeah,
Right. He's really.
I also
setting
just
it.
like that. I like that it just gets cut off, right?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
That
Exactly.
it's just like you can see half of it, and like it just gets cut.
Yeah,
Cool.
it gives the names, which we'll hear again later: Menendez, Travis, McKinnon. The G was carved. Ballistics reports indicate a total of 11 shots fired from 3 of the victims' weapons, none of which touched Grendel at all.
Cool. Turn the page for a Lucas Ottoman witness interview.
Mhm.
Our second so far. This one with Shireen Johnson. She's a housemaid at the Eastview Apartments.
I think it was really like a vivid story she told.
Yeah.
Like her
And her
son,
acting is amazing.
really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's stuff that we've seen that, she's like standing there, like watching Grendel like exit this, like, kill these guys. And then she has her son like in the maid's cart, little Lionel. And as he passes by, he pats him on the head.
Right. He like scruffs his head. She's like, he just maybe likes kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
He does.
Maybe
I mean,
likes
he's a
kids.
kid. He's a kid. I said that last week
He's
about
like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, no.
No, in a good way. I mean that in a good way.
All right, so next page we flash back to the Rose Estate by any other name.
That's from Romeo and Juliet.
That's very right. The Immortal Bard.
Yeah, so it's so in the context of that. First of all, I'm not a Shakespeare scholar, so a rose by any other name would be so sweet. The idea, and he compares Juliet to a rose. It doesn't matter what things are named; it matters their qualities. Right. So there's sort of a twisted irony in Hunter's usage of it. First of all, maybe it's like, ain't life sweet? Joie de vie. I'm Hunter Rose. I'm such a dapper, like libertine guy. How sweet it is, baby. But also, like, the point of the quote is that, like, whatever the names of things are irrelevant if their true nature is something else, which is, I think the brilliance of Shakespeare is that there's truth in there, and you can mine it out in these like open-ended philosophical conversations about life and literature and all that stuff. But this ain't about Shakespeare. This is about Grendel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so look at this lovely Larry in the background, nice and cartoony. I can't get enough of him.
Yeah, and then we have an excerpt from Christine Spar. Should we read it or?
Yeah, you should read it. But one thing I love about this one is that it's interrupted by this panel of Larry. And then it continues.
Exactly.
So that's like another, he's introduced this device and now he's mixing it up a little bit. Really cool.
Layering it in.
Layering it in. Please read.
It is doubtful that Grendel could have, in fact, risen to the top or even maintained his dominance of the criminal underworld without the presence and assistance of Larry Stoller. Like a sly jackal to Hunter's proud and ferocious lion, Larry stalked around the edges of his master's activities. His highly attuned ear for both news and gossip provided Grendel's network with an invaluable source of information, which was consistently quick and rarely in dispute.
Ottoman, he seems to think that there was a certain mass criminal crime lord involved. He says he's got no proof of that from the cops, but that eyewitness accounts seem to verify it. The guy's like our very own publicity firm, covers any little thing that might be remotely connected to Grendel. Worth keeping an eye on him.
If there was blackmail or some other such threat that Grendel held over Larry's head, it is not evident in any of the logs that I have. Larry, it seems, simply cooperated, and Grendel let him do so.
You just let him do it.
Yeah.
But you can imagine a story where they just go to Atlantic City.
Oh, absolutely.
Hang
I
out.
know it. I know it. They go and like party and oh man. I mean, it seems like Larry is kind of like the yin to the yang. He's like the method to Grendel's madness. It's like
Sure. I thought you were gonna say the method to his red man.
well, I mean,
No,
it's
you're
really
right.
like,
Yeah.
he keeps the books. He helps him numerous times in this kind of like as the sounding board to Hunter's ideas and Grendel's ideas and stuff. And he really is.
I think Larry loves Hunter.
Absolutely. Very
I
well.
think that like the way this story ends, it's like, dude loves this guy.
Yeah.
I think that there's a very interesting like how to break design rules on this page, because there is a weird kind of tangent line between the bottom Larry panel border and the table of Hunter's
Oh yeah.
panel, and it works really well. But it's like, it's like the kind of thing that would be a mistake by someone else, but here it's perfect.
Right. It's like the geometric.
Yeah, it's so
kind of
great.
stuff that I love those things.
Super cool.
Cool. So next page, we see old Stacy. She's like, "I'm ready for the ball, Uncle Hunter. Are you ready? I really hope there's going to be some other kids there this time." And it's like, there's never any kids there, Stacy. You know this.
Of course.
Yeah. And so they walk in again, and again it says like, of course there's no kids, and Stacy's just, strange to also note, it is only when I am with her that I seem to shake these recent feelings of unease. So again, this dichotomy of what Stacy brings to this whole story, and only, with the benefit of foreknowledge of what will happen in the future, we're able to see this, but Hunter's not able, and even Stacy at this point doesn't know what she's gonna become or do.
Truly, she's one of a kind, my kind. So he sees the uber creature potential in her,
Mm-hmm.
and when they're together, I am hidden.
Not only the reincarnation of perhaps Joe Costa, but the reincarnation of Sophia Valenti from before now that we know. So it's like this
fire lives in her. Yeah.
Ooh, man.
I really enjoy how the entire background is just black and white line art.
Yes.
And they've got the solid blacks and the Prismacolor and the shading and all that.
I wonder if Matt hid some people in there. We kind of have a Matt looking character over here on the right, goatee, bald, circle glasses.
Your other right?
Oh, sorry, my left. Yeah.
I'm always pants, guys.
Yeah.
Fancy
the next
pants.
page we see, while Hunter's off at the party. No, I guess Hunter's there in the background, but we see Larry with the books and the calculator and these stacks and stacks of money. So Larry's.
This is literally where they say that Larry is Jared Kushner. This is like that. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was interesting. There's a part of me that wishes that the blood was opaque over the text.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Right. It's a bit hard to read, but
it would be. But it would be cool though. Right.
Yeah.
One of Larry Stoller's most significant contributions to Grendel's vast operations was his deft and almost uncanny ability to hide and launder dirty money. This must have been an innate talent due to the fact that up until his seemingly voluntary state of servitude to the criminal genius, Stoller had lived his entire life off a sizable trust fund that had come via his grandmother's will. He had never had a job. It was an innate talent for doing this.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of the uber creature in Larry for laundering money. That's his superpower. Stoller concocted intricate systems of phony business fronts and supposedly failed investment ventures. It's literally what Kushner did.
Yeah.
That successfully helped Grendel's illicit millions disappear without a trace. His task was made easier by the fact that Hunter Rose was already legitimately wealthy. In fact, without Stoller's help, Grendel might simply have ignored or even burned the piles and piles of criminal cash that were the spoils of his wicked ways. Getting rich was never the point of Hunter's dual life as Grendel. That purpose was always the utter dominance and subjugation of his fellow men.
Yes, absolutely, proving the symbiotic relationship that they had. Like Grendel Hunter never once thinks about the material. He never once thinks about how things are done, where things are coming from. It's
I mean, not that he
all-
doesn't like having Maltese Falcon statue banisters in his
Right.
suite or whatever.
Someone
it is.
designed the
Yeah.
and someone toured that apartment and bought it, and
Yeah, I would, you know, in my in the Matt Wagner lightning round, how interested are you in strip mining X? Larry Stoller is absolutely like I just want to see more of this guy. He's so amusing.
yeah, such an interesting.
I love the scene cut.
Oh yeah, perfect.
The contrast between the white paper, like you're reading a document,
Mhm.
and the flick of his of
Zippo.
Lucas's lighter is amazing.
And I've thought about it in my own comic book making, like whether it's worth starting a new scene on the same page or if it's
Mhm.
like better to just go to the next page. But I think for like a solid like scene swipe, like a scene going
Change,
from
yeah.
one scene change like this,
Sure.
it's worth it, especially where it's just this kind of leading you right into it. Like
Yeah.
you're right, the guy's a fucking ghost.
Well, you
And then
always want to change it up.
yeah,
You know, I've been thinking a lot about my own storytelling, like the things I'm falling into, and right now I'm thinking a lot about when I'm penciling and doing layouts, I do it as a spread. And ideally I would like to keep each scene as a spread.
that makes sense.
Or make sure that all my reveals are on the page turn and all that. But if you're going to make these rules without breaking them like this, then you'll be dull. So.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there is a great reveal. I mean, you turn the page and
yeah.
it's this utterly beautiful semi spread again. Amazing, Prismacolor work with Matt on the back of her body, and
yeah,
really
and
great panel
like the
here.
rim light on his shoulder, the way you've got that gray rim light, the solid ink, and then these like beautiful organic shapes like digging into his muscles with the Prismacolor.
Oh yeah.
This is very much like that Steranko piece, the silk stalker or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's basically that.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
we know he's
an
a big
amazing scent.
Stranko.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is such a great semi spread because you got that big central image, and then you've got their conversation. There's some wonderful Zappa in the last 3 panels of that strip where the gutters get real big.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so it really like slows down their conversation as they basically talk about how impossible the task of cracking Task Force G is.
Right.
And then you've got this amazing, and Argent comes up in their conversation, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this amazing Argent silhouette with some Christine underneath.
So great. And they're talking about like, we can't crack it. We can't find anything about him. Like it's silent as a tomb, but everyone's scared, but we can't find anything about him. And not even the wolf, like not even the fucking wolf hasn't been able to sink his teeth into this asshole.
Yeah. It ain't just you, baby. I love that if it weren't for their jobs, they would just be married and happy.
But they're so at odds.
They just can't do it.
Right. And when they're in bed, it does seem like her lips are a little bit looser and he's able to get some
right. Yeah.
Info,
well, I mean, they are working, that's the deal is that like, we know that 2 heads are better than 1 and we're really hot together. So like, why not bend the rules? But in public, no comment. No comment.
I'm unable to talk. Yeah.
I think that the Argent silhouette, I think that's a razor blade over ink.
Oh yeah.
I have never been able to make that work, but you need to have the right amount of ink. It needs to be applied with a brush, and you need to be very precise with the angle that you're holding the blade. And you can see this effect a lot in like classic Marvel comics, or war comics or Harvey Kurtzman stuff, where like a bomb blast will go off and it'll be like, and you can sort of see the razor blade. You'll hold it flat and you can see it sort of skipping across the surface of the paper. But here with these lines, I think it's really just like you have to ever so slightly use the corner and just like pull it across to kind of get that like jagged like raindrop effect.
Interesting, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure how that was done.
It's a very finesse. Well, we'll talk to Matt, but it's a very finessed application. I mean, I wouldn't say you got to get it right the first time because you always put more paint down or more ink down, but
You don't want to overwork it.
it has to,
It won't.
you've only got you got to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Forget what I said. Get it right or pay the price, schmucks.
And maybe he even does it here on this next page to symbolize this rain. But
The
then
rain,
here we see Hunter drawing this eyeball and like stabbing it. He's kind of like, this is an interesting thing to spend a whole page on, I think.
It's his obsession with his own paranoia, his own unease.
Like he's being watched.
Like
Like the thing that, it's the eye that's troubling him. And, it's funny. Larry's like, I hate to interrupt all your target practice, but are you even listening? Like, I guess Larry was talking to him. And then we get this
is that a letter opener, do you think? Like a very sinister letter opener?
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah. And then the next page, we get to see the old fish tank. And he has these
the fencing foils.
Right, the foils, yeah.
Yeah.
Is one Joe Costa's maybe, or is one?
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Very cool.
I love that the aquarium is also in white, so he's drawing specific attention to the trick aquarium.
There's stuff behind it.
Super cool. So their conversation is this whole conversation leading into the Devil's Vagary stuff.
Right, exactly.
Leading into the Korean gang stuff is kind of where the crime plotting starts to spin over my head a little bit. But he's basically saying, let the Larry's consigli, Tom Hagening him into saying, let the capos deal with it. They already know you're crazy. They already know you're murderous. You need to like figure out who's worth what by letting them sort of resolve it. And then if you need to make a move, you can do that.
Right. Like let them battle. And then, the more powerful ones will kind of like settle to the top. So like you don't need to
rise to the top. Man.
Exactly. You don't need to appoint someone like their own infighting will do it. And
I really like this Larry Stoller in the top right. He looks like a marionette, like a Punch and Judy marionette or something like that.
Again, it's a tough angle. I mean, that's not an easy angle.
No, it looks great. Sure. It looks great. And when look at that Tetris shaped eyebrow nose line for Hunter.
Yeah.
That's all you need, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's so good at that. Wonderful. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Devil's Vagary.
Devil's Vagary, the windows. I mean, everything here is exactly like this is that same setting. It's not the same night, but it is the same setting for sure.
Yeah, right. It's absolutely the same setting. And he's, what I got out of this scene was that Grendel is 10 steps ahead of everyone. He, like, his flair for the theatrics and the fun and the thrill of it all is kind of on a different wavelength from these, like, more conservative business guys.
For sure.
He's like, oh, you don't think they're scared of me? You don't think that, you don't think that they're going to get in line? Like the Koreans that are bringing 200 kilos of cocaine or what, whatever it is.
Uncut heroin.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. The will of Grendel will not be denied. Isn't that so, Brayburn? So all these yes men are like, oh yeah. But the one dude, the one mouthy dude is Seymour Rothstein.
Right. And while the other people are like, what are you doing? You need to shut up. Hunter is that, secretly saying that him actually talking back to me is the only thing keeping him alive, which is cool. I mean, there's this sense of honor with Hunter, a sense of honor among all this death. And so because I love this thing too, where he's like 300 kilos, like when you do this for 3 instead of this,
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Matt was talking about naming characters and, the last name is something homage and the first name is something that works. And we were also talking about Boardwalk Empire. So I will read here the back of my Arnold Rothstein biography, King of the Jews.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. Flamboyant mobster Arnold Rothstein was gambling and money. He was the inspiration of Mayor Wolfsheim in The Great Gatsby and Nathan Detroit in Guys and Dolls. It was rumored he masterminded the 1919 World Series fix. He was Mr. Broadway, a king of corruption holding court from his private booth at Lindy's restaurant. Once upon a time when New York City lived and breathed, there was a man marked for death, like us all. His name was Arnold Rothstein, and he himself was the only god he worshipped, and he was a great and sinful man. Whew.
So yeah, definitely inspired by that. Gotta be.
Cool. Anyone gets out of line, Grendel will demonstrate the error of their ways. When we were in, this has totally the four-dimensional chess crime plotting vibe of Vagary, the Dean Motter story.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like I would not make a very good criminal mastermind. I just I can't think quite.
Can't
I can
follow
tell
it.
a story, but not like this.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's one of those things that like, if we were really like being much more meticulous, we could write all these clues down in order to like help suss out something. There's all these little clues that they're dropping names and stuff, and like, and so they set up that there's this heroine coming into the docks. Obviously, all the bad stuff happens in the docks. We need to keep an eye on this, and then this is something where, we can get on top of that and just demonstrate the error of their ways again, because Grendel doesn't like narcotics, right? He doesn't like PCP. I guess.
Yeah. Well, we have to follow up with that on Matt. Okay. Because that might have been something that he's like, maybe that's not something I want to write about. Like, he would be making a lot of money on the narcs. I don't know. Anyway, well, let's cut back to Lucas.
Yeah. So he's
a famous
really
Matt Wagner, New York City alleyway.
Yeah. And he's going around to all his like information sources. He's trying to figure out, more and more about Grendel. He's digging in deep.
Yeah.
And
but it's all dead ends. Like, it's not really leading anything until he gets a tip about the docks.
Just a whisper, a frail cobweb of a trail, something at the docks tonight. And so he heads there, and then we go from his head to Grendel's head, where he's thinking like Rothstein seems like a bit overblown. He seems like a little bit too concerned. The Korean gangs have been a problem in the past, but so far it's all just proceeding apace. Like, everything's working. He's at the docks. The dock master sent everyone home early. The Korean ship just pulled in, but then his Grendel sense is tingling. Something is watching him.
Look at this beautiful red background, no shading pop moment that Brennan was talking about.
Yeah.
Less is more in moments like these. Turn the page for an amazing reveal. It's the wolf. Woo!
Oof. So is this implying that he has yet to really encounter the wolf yet? Because like he's saying,
no,
I can't be.
No, I think that what's implied in that like bedroom scene is that the wolf isn't able to be effective against him. That if this takes place halfway, like if the vagary board is already established and he's halfway into like a 2-year Eastern Seaboard crime syndicate thing, he's tangled with Argent. No. The first time that he's encountered Argent is the night that Barry dies.
Oh, that's true.
Right. So they've met.
Okay. So yeah, they have met
many times. It's always been.
Well, maybe it's been Hunter, or it's been, or no. Does Grendel battle him that night?
Yeah. Okay. They fight in the garden.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
There's like a fire. He starts a fire in the tree.
With the fork.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think it's.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think it's implied that like they are in Devil by the Deed, that they are very evenly matched, right? And there's also anthology shorts that are much lower stakes than this, where they're tangling, or there's the Guy Davis one where he stops the drug deal,
right?
And they just always like he just always gets away.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So they're always like sweating each other. But I mean, my only question, the only reason I say that is because he's like, I couldn't be being watched, but wouldn't he think like, oh, if anything, it's Argent. So like, I should actually be keeping an eye out.
Oh, interesting. I think that, I think that
maybe he's so full of himself that he's just like, no one has any idea where I am.
Well, you don't know what it is, but I think it's supposed to be a bit more spectral. Like he knows what it's like when Argent is.
He can smell the smell.
Yeah, he can see the disruptions in the dust patterns, for Christ's sake. Like,
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
can smell this filthy wolf man, you know. And then also not to spoil anything, but as they tangle in the very beginning of the next issue, his opening line is, Argent, it's only you.
See, I thought it was something way worse.
What I love, I don't want to spoil, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Matt's Argent in these sequences is like, he is finally on model to the T.
The definitive look.
Yeah, this is what he's supposed to look like. And
Yeah.
the legs are so creepy, but like the torso is so man-like, and just like he's disgusting. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
The ears are, just where they're supposed to be. He doesn't have the Jerry curls anymore. His hair's all greasy and stringy and gross. Oh man.
Love
I don't
it.
want to get ahead. We shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We need to savor
Savor it
the
till
flavor.
next. Yes, till next ish. Great, amazing. I'm loving going through these. They're a little bit easier to swallow, to download. Just great. A great book.
It's a Rosetta Stone end cap to the Hunter Rose saga.
Absolutely.
Really great.
Well, Ben, I guess that does it for another week here on The Devil in Detail.
We'll see you guys next time in 2021.
All
A year
right.
destined to be much better than the last. Oh, good riddance.
Goodbye, 2020.
It's not reality. It's just a number that sucks. Vivat Grendel.
Keep on grinding.